Welcome to the thrilling world of Security Squawk, where we explore cybersecurity. Guiding you through online threats, we'll aid you in understanding safety protocols and trends. Meet our gurus, Brian from Exact IT, Reginald from Arc Solvers, and Randy from Tech Rescue. Together, we'll delve into current events and hot cybersecurity topics, helping you comprehend their impact. Stay informed, stay secure. Security Squawk, the business of cybersecurity. Buckle up, let's dive in.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Security Squawk, where we break down the latest cybersecurity stories and what they actually mean for your business and your life. I'm Brian, here with Randy and Andre. And this week's headlines, guys, prove once again that companies still don't understand how easy it is to get popped. So Randy's going to kick things off today with a story about Dell getting breached, believe it or not. The US-based computer maker, and a spoiler alert on that story. The bad guys didn't need to break much to get in. And then going right along with breaking in real easy, Andre is going to bring us the perfect example of how weak passwords destroyed a 158-year-old company. Yes, in 2025, we're still talking about weak passwords. So our buddy across the pond, Luke, will probably enjoy this story, as I believe that's out of the UK.
Yep.
And I'll close things out at the end of the show looking at healthcare ransomware attacks. But I want to set the stage by poking fun at these articles that keep saying ransomware is on the decline. Spoiler, if you work at a hospital, it doesn't feel that way, right? So let's bring Randy in here and talk about this Dell demo platform breached by WorldLeaks. And it, this wouldn't seem like a big deal on the surface, but you'd think Dell would be hardened to the gills, but nope, their online demonstration platform was breached by an extortion group called WorldLeaks. And this wasn't some sophisticated attack. Randy, give us the rundown on what happened and how this fits into the bigger conversation around securing these forgotten infrastructure.
Yeah, there's a really lot. There's a ton here to unpack. My first perusal, doing some research, I was like, because WorldLeaks, they basically breached some demo servers that Dell uses to show off its products. So they're doing a product demonstration or something like that. They have these demo servers and demo hardware, blah, blah, blah. So they can show it off to customers, potential customers, and the like. And so, like I said, when I first saw the article, I just kind of skipped over because I'm like, the demo stuff got attacked, basically. Reached. But as I started thinking about it, I thought, this is something that we really ought to look at. Many reasons. One, we always hear whenever there's an attack, we always hear or a breach, we always hear right off the top or off the front, nothing to see here, move along, nothing real was leaked, blah, blah, blah. So yes, we're hearing similar things to that. In this case, they're saying that the systems all have fake data, so it's not really good. From a cybercrime standpoint, it's not really useful. There's some things I wanted to point out. So Dell said that these systems were isolated from the rest of their production systems. So that really begs the question for me is, how did they get in then? If they're isolated, how did they get in? That's something that we'll have to see over the next few weeks. WorldLeaks is a group that's claiming responsibility for this. Y'all probably remember them. Last year, they were called Hunters International. So they've rebranded, they got a new logo and they got new t-shirts and all that jazz. And now they're called WorldLeaks. So far this year, they've basically breached and leaked on the dark web about 49 companies' data. They have about 250 in process over the course of the year. So probably there's been a couple hundred people that have paid them this year. But a couple of questions makes me ask. So, okay, business leaders out there, a lot of businesses have some kind of a demo environment. Is your demo environment secured? Because, yeah, maybe nothing sensitive went down, but what if they're in the middle of a demonstration for a potential, multi-billion-dollar hardware sale or multi-million-dollar hardware sale? This is going to be a black eye on Dell's reputation. Another interesting thing here is World Leaks has basically their own, it's called affiliates as a service. AAAS, you've heard of ransomware as a service before. So ransomware as a service basically deploys ransomware. So the criminal doesn't have to be that good at it. They get the software from the provider and then they deploy it and it does its thing. Well, affiliate as a service is similar, where it's not necessarily World Leaks that is deploying this software. Maybe it's somebody out there, a 2-bit criminal. Maybe it's somebody on the inside. We don't know. And one last thing about World Leaks / Hunters International, which is what they were last year. Remember, they rebranded. But one more thing about them is they typically get in through either credential theft, by like phishing, or by getting them off the dark web, or by exploit of unpatched systems. So I'm thinking this is a demo system. Maybe it wasn't patched. That seems like the most likely, unless maybe somebody was demoing it, quote unquote, and logged into their email and opened up a phishing email, which also that could have happened. We'll find out over the next few weeks. But that's basically the gist of what's going on here.
Yeah, and great insight, Randy. And, even though Dell is saying, nothing to see here, because, all of this information that inside the database they're saying was synthetic, it was fake. But nevertheless, the headlines, when you're going on Google and you're looking at, different type of news, the headline is saying Dell got breached, Dell is extorted. So again, you're dealing with you're looking to do a contract with Dell, and now you're going to remember that in the back of your mind. So it's an embarrassment. It's a PR, branding is not good for that. Now, one thing it did say is, although it said that the data was synthetic, it did say that only old contacts were stolen. All right, old contacts were stolen. So I did business with Dell 15 years ago. Guess what? Right. My cell phone and email address is the same, the same. It didn't change. So now I can expect, phishing, spear emails, and impersonation campaigns on me based on this old information. So this is a perfect example of where AI can help you, where you can, have ChatGPT create you 500 fake first name, last name, socials, whatever you're trying to have it create, and then put that into that demo environment. But please don't use old customers' information, even if it was from the 80s. It's still most likely relevant, Right.
At least some of it is.
Yeah, some of it is, right.
Nice. Well, Randy, I got to say, Dell's really giving us a master class this week in how not to secure your infrastructure. Maybe next time they should demo what good cybersecurity looks like, being that they tout themselves as a cybersecurity company, instead of what not to do. And we appreciate you bringing this one to the table. So next up, we got Andre. Man, this one's brutal. Imagine building a company that survives wars, depressions, pandemics, only to be undone by a weak password in 2025. And that's what happened here. Andre's going to clue us in on what happened to this 158-year-old company that was breached because of this terrible password practice. Andre's got the details, and I'm sure some thoughts on why this keeps happening to businesses.
And the answer is very simple. A weak password. I was going to give you guys a riddle. What does, war, like you said, wars, Great Depressions, what does that all have to do with a 158-year-old company? So this company based in UK, they're called KNP Logistics, and they're basically going to be closing down. Now, this is a company with 730 employees are now losing their job because they could not pay a $6.4 million ransom. So that got me thinking, it's like, okay, so your 730 employees you've got a nice payroll, every 2 weeks that's hitting you. And I'm thinking, like, why is it that they couldn't pay this ransom? And one of the things is that it's cash flow. Being a logistics company, a lot of times you're going to do the work and then you're going to then wait for payments to come in. And you think about us as a service industry, very similar, right? You do work, but your customers may say, okay, hey, it's got to go through the processing. The board's got to sign the checks, things like that. So for whatever reason, this company didn't have enough cash flow to cover the $6.4 million. And when they went to the bank to try to get a loan, because that would be your natural next thing, what did the bank say? The bank says, well, show us your financials. Oh, well, we can't show you our financials because our systems is down, which is why we're here. And unfortunately, no bank, no investor, I guess no hard money loan people wanted to give this company a dime because they could not show their financials. And it's only a matter of time. If you're a logistics company and your main job is to transport something from point A to point B, and your system, your data, your operations are down, your customers are going to go to the next transportation company that can do that. And it's only that fast. You're not that your clients aren't loyal to you, but they need to get the shipment done, because for them, they're going to lose money. And that's exactly, unfortunately, what happened. And just again, going back to why it happened because of a weak employee password.
Yeah, and I would definitely want to encourage businesses to put things in place to let your employees know, and for you to find out as a business when passwords have been leaked and when they've been out there on the dark web. Because do we know exactly, was it just an easy guess, like password 123, or was it they saw something from the dark web and they tried that, or was it a combo of both? Do we know?
No, it didn't say, but we all know that, like 96% of passwords can be cracked in a second, and about 80% of passwords are reused. So it's got to be one of those.
Yes.
Yeah, for some companies.
So what about cyber? Oh, go. Sorry.
I was going to say, for some companies that we deal with, it's just like some companies get it, and their people adopt things like password managers across the board. And then other companies, it's like, you're running we run quarterly risk assessments, right? And we're finding passwords stored all over the place, in browsers and files.
Yep.
And these companies have a password manager as part of the service that we give to them, right? And, typically what we find is it's a percentage of the company, not everybody, completely ignoring the fact that, but it's amazing to me that, this is where we're at today. Like, it's as simple as using a password manager. And quite frankly, when we roll out a password manager and the people who use it adopt it, they're like, this is amazing because I don't have to remember a password anymore.
Right.
So people are so used to this like old way of doing things, like just remembering passwords. For me, I haven't remembered a password other than my password manager password in over 5 years. And I can tell you right now, there's not a single thing that I use the same password for.
Yep.
And, so it's that simple. So there's nothing. Like, every time I have to reset a password, I'm always going to my password manager, generate password, right? And it's a new password every time, and I'm not using that password anywhere else.
Sorry.
No, go ahead, Randy.
Was just wondering, Andre, did they have any kind of cybersecurity insurance or anything like that?
Well, that's the thing. Either they didn't have cyber insurance or they didn't have enough coverage, because, again, you're talking a company that's doing about 100 million in revenue, and they didn't have $6 million approximately to pay for this. So, wow. Yeah.
Well, Andre, another solid reminder that technology changes, but human laziness is forever.
Right.
Thanks for sharing. And, that's just going to play out, with AI too, with what I just said. So, All right, guys, moving right along. Keep seeing these headlines that ransomware is on the decline, or this industry or that industry isn't a target. And then in the same breath, or in the same Google search, quite frankly, I literally have this article, and then I have two other articles that say 2 hospitals got hit with ransomware. So despite this Info Security magazine, yes, retail is becoming a bigger and bigger target as hackers find. What's going on here with retail is they're finding the platforms that retail likes to use, the popular platforms, and they're finding vulnerabilities in them, and they're exploiting them, right? They literally move from industry to industry and figure out, oh, the retail world, the grocery world, so to speak, supermarket world likes to use this certain FTP platform, and we know it has vulnerabilities, so let's attack it, and boom. And they just move around like this, and they figure out who likes to use what, or what industry was at what conference and decided to buy a bunch of software from one particular vendor, and boom. That's how this stuff literally plays out, right? So we're going to roll into 2 stories here, guys, that contradicts kind of this whole healthcare ransomware attack slows. First one up is this El Dorado Hospital in Kansas, where they have suspected ransomware. And then we also have this Cooksville Regional Medical Center in Tennessee, where a network security incident, likely ransomware, has hit both of these hospitals in the last week. Healthcare remains one of the biggest targets because of the stakes. They're life or death in a lot of cases, and these hospitals know it, these attackers know it, and that's what really drives the reasons behind these attacks and why they're such a big target, because hospital CEOs want to get their hospitals back up and running as quick as possible. And a lot of times that means they have to pay the ransom in some way, shape, or form. Healthcare remains top target. Retail is right there behind them. No surprise, anyone who's paying attention. So let's talk about what's going on here. And why do you guys think that, in these news reports, and that's kind of what I want to focus on, why do you think they write things like this? Like, in my mind, you shouldn't present it as like healthcare is starting to slow, right? I don't see it that way. I see it as like healthcare's up here and retail's just catching up. Is that how you guys see it? Because what's behind the media spin behind trying to say that this stuff is slowing?
Clicks.
Clicks?
Yeah. Sorry.
Meaning, I'm going to click this, and I work in healthcare, so I'm going to read this story.
Well, no, I'm sorry. Yeah,
I don't need to invest in cybersecurity now because it's slowing.
No, I just thought that would hit different than it did when I said it. No, what I mean by that is they're framing the articles, they're framing the headlines because they want to get more engagement with their audience. And maybe by saying, retail's on the rise, or by saying this or that, maybe that has something to do with engagement. And maybe it's something that they're trying to do to get more people to engage with their articles. That's all I was wondering.
Andre, any thoughts on?
I mean, this is going to be far off, but is it, you don't want to crap on your advertisers. I don't know if they've got some connections with them, and, you don't want to kick them while they're down and talk bad about that industry because they're the ones who's still putting advertisements on your websites and newspapers.
I can't figure it out, but it's been going on. It's been going on for a while. I just can't figure out, we see these articles all the time. Like, insurance industry says ransomware is down, and then not really. I mean, it might be down for like 6 months because geopolitics, ransomware groups break up, but it all comes back with a vengeance, and it all comes back and hits businesses twice as hard as it did, before. And now we're dealing with everything, right? We're dealing with ransomware. We're dealing with file deletion attacks now, where they're just deleting files over a long period of time. And businesses are really up against it, in my opinion, from a lot of different threats, including business email compromise, which is bigger than both of the other two things I mentioned.
Yeah, because your typical small business could get away with hiding it and not making the news, but you can't really, hide it under the rug if you're a hospital or retail, because first thing people are going to do is go on social media and complain that the service is not working. And then from there, the news picks it up.
Yep.
I think also there's conflicting news out there, Brian, because we did talk about an article recently where I don't remember if it said, like, there was a paragraph saying that it was down, and then a whole nother article saying that it was up. So there's that. And then also what Andre just mentioned, we are seeing a shift from the bigger companies. Not that they're not getting hit. Obviously, Dell just got hit today or yesterday or whenever that was, 2 days ago. But we are seeing this shift where more and more are going after the smaller businesses. And like Andre said, those don't make the news. So, it's not that they don't get hit. They're just too big to make the news. So it looks like we got to carry the show for a couple minutes. Andre, what other thoughts you have about this?
Well, another thing, is that I'm sure, like with that last article we talked about with the logistics company, I'm sure that attacker really got bummed out that business got, that business wasn't able to pay because they didn't have cyber insurance. But for sure, your, larger retail companies, your hospitals, they're going to have that cyber insurance. So, you go after where the money is, that's in my world, I would say that's a bullseye, right? If you want to make sure you get paid and put as much pressure on an industry, you want to go after hospitals, you want to go after retail, because for them time, well, in the hospital world, time could be possibly death, and retail time is money, and they need to get back up as soon as possible.
And also, Brian, when we say ransomware is going down, we're seeing data exfiltration, like what they tried to do with the Dell. We're seeing that go up. Yeah. So, I mean, if we just want to call it, cyber incidents are still on the rise or whatever, I mean, they're close cousins, and it's still the same difference in that the company's going to have to pay some kind of fee, whether you call it an extortion fee or whether you call it ransom, they're still going to have to pay something.
Yeah. Agreed. Good commentary and insight there on that. I think, I look at it like this stuff ebbs and flows. Sometimes we look at data from, maybe months and quarters, and you really can't do that with this stuff. You have to look at it maybe over 6, 12, 18 months to really get a picture of what's really happening. And why I say that is and for most U.S. school districts right now and colleges, quite frankly, it's break time, right? And we don't hear a lot of schools getting hit with ransomware right now. Correct, guys? Right. But guarantee you in the next 30 days, we are going to start hearing schools as they ramp up and get ready to open. A few days before they're probably ready to open, some of these schools are going to get popped, and we're going to be talking about it. And Andre's smiling ear to ear. He's like, "Yep, that's going to be my story." And
once you're ready, hit the play button or the go button on there.
Brian told you so. Brian told you so. So
yeah.
All right, guys, that's a wrap on another episode of the Security Squawk. And just to kind of review what we've covered today, Dell left a demo platform exposed, and Randy let us know how extortion groups are knocking. Andre covered the 158-year-old UK company that collapsed because of their weak password. And I dove into why healthcare ransomware is still alive and well, despite some reports saying that ransomware is declining. So if you're getting value from the show, please hit that like button. Remember to subscribe if you watch us on the YouTubes and other places. Remember, you can share this with your team internally at work. You can share it with your friends and family. If you really want to help us out, leave us a review wherever you listen or consume this. Drop a comment. It helps people understand that this is a worthwhile piece of content to get your eyeballs on. So until the next time, stay safe out there. Remember, security is a journey, not a destination. So see you in the next episode. Take care, everyone.
Bye, everybody.
Take care.